Let's begin this amazing stories. The chaos began when the car radio crackled to life, announcing the sudden appearance of a pack of monsters. But it was the worst possible day for a monster attack, especially by these oversized, deranged chickens known as beltos. Ferocious as they might be, the entire flock met a swift and painless end at the hands of one unlikely man. The group of awakeners assigned to handle the threat stood frozen in disbelief, still trying to process what had just happened. From their perspective, it could only mean one thing. Some hidden powerhouse must have been secretly dispatched and wiped the monsters out. But none of it made any sense. Who could eliminate an entire Belto flock in one clean sweep and vanish without a trace? After all, no one in the country had the raw talent to pull off something like that. Well, unbeknownst to them, that someone was none other than Kang Ho, a man who now ran a humble little restaurant in the very area that had just been attacked. Normally, Ho avoided this kind of chaos. But today, the smell of fresh Belto meat, known for making the juiciest, most mouth-watering steaks imaginable, proved too tempting. He took matters into his own hands, slaying the beast and hauling a premium cut back to his kitchen. Just as he was preparing to turn the fresh meat into a new dish, an unexpected visitor arrived. A representative from the Awakener Association had come by to check on Ho, following reports of the Belto incident. The rep seemed surprised to find the man completely unbothered. For Ho, this kind of thing had become so routine, it might as well have been just another Tuesday. But as the two spoke, the rep suddenly caught a whiff of something incredible, an aroma so rich and savory that he couldn't help but follow it. It was coming straight from Ho's kitchen. Compelled by the scent, he asked if the restaurant was open. Ho, ever the welcoming host, didn't turn him away. As the guest stepped inside, he immediately noticed the place's spotless interior. So clean and refined, it looked more like a film set than a real restaurant. Settling in, the rep requested a menu, but was met with a surprise. There was no menu. At Ho's place, meals depended entirely on the ingredients available that day. Today's special? Fresh Belto steak. The moment the rep heard Belto, he nearly choked. After all, those were the same creatures that had just terrorized the area. But all credit, he believed, went to the great warrior Master Gamu, who had allegedly taken them down in a flash. Ho said nothing to correct him. He simply nodded and gave thanks to the mysterious hero. He had no interest in fame. His focus was on the meat, exquisite, flavorful, and perfect when grilled just right. The mention of steak did make the rep a bit nervous. Steak, after all, wasn't cheap, and he wasn't sure if his wallet was up for it. But before he could worry too much, Ho picked up a cleaver and began slicing flawless portions, seasoning them only with salt and pepper. Letting the meat speak for itself. As the aroma intensified, the scene momentarily fades to a memory from nearly 30 years ago. Back then, Kang Ho had awakened not on Earth, but in an entirely different world, a cursed land teeming with dragons and flesh-eating beasts. Survival was brutal until one day, luck turned his way. He unlocked immense strength, enough to make even the dragons tremble. He eventually rose high enough to defeat the Demon King himself. That hard-fought victory earned him a passage home. But Earth wasn't the same place he had left behind. It too had been invaded by monsters. Despite the chaos, Ho had made up his mind. After 3 decades of non-stop battles, he was finished with killing. Fortunately, the rise of Awakeners, ordinary people who suddenly gained supernatural powers, allowed humanity to fight back. With new heroes stepping in to protect the world, Ho's role on the front lines was no longer necessary. And so he chose a new path, one of peace, purpose, and perfect flavor. He became a chef. And from that day on, all he wanted was to cook damn good food. As the backstory unfolds, the Belto steak is finally ready to be served. The dish looks absolutely mouth-watering, perfectly grilled, glistening with juices and rich with aroma. The guest, barely able to contain his excitement, stares at the plate with wide eyes and a gaping mouth, practically drooling. He hadn't expected anything like this. Just moments ago, he was dealing with monsters and chaos, and now, here he was, face to face with what looked like a 5-star gourmet meal. Unable to resist, he takes his first bite, and instantly his eyes widen in shock. The flavors hit him like a tidal wave. The meat is tender and juicy, with just the right balance of spice and acidity. It's a sensory explosion. There's something poetic about it. The very Beltos that had him running ragged all day were now lifting his spirits, one bite at a time. Before he knows it, he's devouring the entire plate, savoring each piece until there's nothing left but a clean dish and a satisfied sigh. With his appetite finally sated, it's time to settle the bill. But luck seems to be on his side. To his surprise, Cheol-ho informs him that first-time customers aren't charged. The rep is stunned. A meal of this quality, essentially free? It's unbelievable. Revitalized from head to toe, the man is already thinking about his next visit. Still, he insists on paying something for the incredible meal. Seeing his persistence, Cheol-ho agrees to take a modest $10. The guest hands it over without hesitation, clearly grateful. Before leaving, the rep turns serious for a moment. He urges Cheol-ho to stay safe. These are dangerous times for non-awakeners, and with monsters roaming freely, even a quiet restaurant could be at risk. He advises Kang to evacuate at the first sign of trouble and hands over his business card, just in case. Compared to a few years ago, when this area was a wasteland, it's heartening to see cafes, bars, and markets springing back to life. As he walks out, the rep reminds the chef that he's only a call away if anything goes wrong. Cheol-ho watches him leave, reflecting on how difficult this era has become for ordinary folks without powers. He feels a deep respect for people like the association agent, those who put their lives on the line for the public good. Then, turning back to his kitchen, he samples his own dish. The moment the flavor hits his tongue, he nods with satisfaction. The day is winding down, night is falling, and it looks like it's about time to close up shop. But before calling it a day, he gets an idea. Why not make a snack out of the Belto eggs he brought back earlier? As he ponders the perfect way to highlight the flavor of one particular egg, the peaceful moment is shattered. The door bursts open. A stranger storms in, slamming the entrance behind him. No greetings, no politeness, just shouting. His tone is angry, his words a blur of accusations and frustration. Cheol-ho is caught off guard. He has no idea who this man is or what he wants. And just like that, a new chapter begins. It turned out the angry stranger wasn't just venting, he was there to claim what he believed rightfully belonged to him. But to understand why, we need to rewind the clock a few hours and shift the scene to the Sodaman traditional market. The market was alive with the usual bustle. Peddlers shouting over each other, stalls overflowing with whatever rare ingredients could still be found. Since the rise of monster activity, traditional livestock and fresh vegetables had become nearly impossible to come by. Even the most basic ingredients were now considered luxury items. Kang Cheol-ho was moving quietly through the crowd, scouting for supplies to restock his kitchen. These days, humanity had been forced to adapt. With natural food sources dwindling, people had no choice but to explore alternatives, chief among them, monster meat. Although many were hesitant at first, the tide had slowly begun to turn. Some were drawn in by the surprisingly rich taste, others by the affordability. And while the stubborn few still clung to lab-grown meat and synthetic vegetables, it was clear. Nothing beat the flavor of real monster ingredients. This shift in taste had made the Sodaman monster market a booming hotspot. Among the many stalls, one peddler was offering a batch of what he claimed were fresh Belto eggs. But even he couldn't be entirely sure. Monster eggs often looked nearly identical, and without verification, it was easy to be fooled. That's where Kang had the upper hand. Before making a purchase, he activated one of his trusted abilities. Detect Eyes, a skill he had stolen from Kane's, a silver dragon and former ruler of the northern mountain range in his previous life. The ability allowed him to scan and identify the stats and origins of nearly anything or anyone. It was one of the most valuable tools he had ever acquired, snatched during the climactic battle against the Demon King, and it remained one of his most relied on assets to this day. As he focused on the eggs, a string of notifications appeared before his eyes. Only one of the eggs was truly from a Belto. The rest? Completely different monsters. likely cheap substitutions. Yet another scam by market peddlers trying to sell third-rate goods at premium prices. Just as he was wrapping up the purchase, one egg in particular caught his attention. Unlike the others, this one triggered nothing from his artifact. No stats, no name, no origin. Complete silence. The artifact's inability to read it immediately raised a flag. Intrigued, Kang decided to buy that egg as well. Something about it felt rare. Valuable, even. Later that evening, back at his restaurant, he cracked open one of the verified Belto eggs and prepared a simple yet flavorful scrambled dish. The combination of the rich Belto yolk and a splash of cowhall milk produced a creamy, savory masterpiece. With each bite, he was transported back to the battlefield, back to the camaraderie of friends now long gone, and back to those fleeting moments when a good meal was the only comfort in a war-torn world. But soon his attention shifted back to the mysterious egg, the one even his dragon-forged artifact couldn't read. He knew one thing for certain. Dragon artifacts were formed naturally as part of their awakening, and while dragons could exert influence over lesser creatures, they couldn't affect their own kind. Which raised a chilling possibility. This egg might belong to something on the same level as a dragon, or perhaps something even greater. That's probably why the Detect Eyes artifact had failed. It couldn't read the egg because it belonged to a dragon. Talk about unbelievable luck. Kang Cheol-ho had unknowingly stumbled upon something incredibly rare, a genuine dragon's egg. As he pondered what kind of dish could possibly do justice to such a legendary ingredient, the front door slammed open. The red-haired stranger from earlier stormed in, yelling and demanding what he claimed was rightfully his. Kang immediately sensed something strange. Just like the dragon egg, his artifact couldn't read any data on this man either. The realization hit him. This fiery intruder had to be a dragon in human form. When Kang calmly asked him to confirm his identity, the man exploded in rage, flames flaring around him as he demanded to know how Kang had figured it out. Unfazed, Kang warned him to calm down before he scorched the place, but the dragon wasn't backing down. He wanted answers, and he wanted them now. Not wanting a fight that would turn his spotless restaurant into a battlefield, Kang admitted to possessing the Detect Eyes artifact, which could read the stats of anything, except dragons. Then something else caught the dragon's eye. A knife forged from blue dragon scales, a powerful relic, now used as nothing more than a kitchen tool. On the counter was a cutting board made from dragon bone. The sight of these items, so carelessly used for cooking, pushed the dragon into a rage. To him, it was an unforgivable insult. He let out a roar, flames intensifying with fury. Kang, however, sighed in annoyance. He knew this would turn into a mess. The dragon hurled a massive blue fireball straight at him. But without missing a beat, Kang grabbed a frying pan and smacked the flaming orb out of the air like it was nothing. In a blur of godlike speed, he closed the gap between them and slapped the dragon across the face with the same frying pan. The blow didn't just leave a mark. It triggered something deep inside the dragon, a long-buried memory. Back in the previous world, Kang, known there as Miro-lace, had once stood before the Dragon King and demanded the artifact now known as Detect Eyes. At the time, he was in a rush to defeat the Demon King, and negotiation wasn't on the table. The dragon before him now, just a child back then, had watched as Kang faced down his father, Ekmon Rex, and took the artifact by force. Snapping back to the present, Kang calmly ordered the redhead to clean the floor before things escalated any further. Reluctantly, the dragon grabbed a mop and bucket and began scrubbing away the scorch marks, all while casting angry side glances at the man who had once humbled his family. As the fiery stranger cleaned, Kang asked where he was from. He was curious how someone like this knew so much about the Detect Eyes artifact. The answer revealed even more. The dragon confessed that he had been born in the continent of Ispan, the same place where Kang had fought the Demon King decades ago. He had crashed into this new world through a dimensional rift. At that moment, Kang formally introduced himself, not just as the man who ran a restaurant, but as the former warrior once feared across continents. Miro-lace, now going by Kang Cheol-ho in this world. Under Kang's watchful eye, the dragon finally finished cleaning the place, good as new. As he prepared to leave with the dragon egg in hand, he had one final question. Why had Kang never returned the artifact after defeating the Demon King? Kang asked for a name, and the redhead gave it, Ekman Rex. Of course, Kang remembered him. That explained the familiar aura. No wonder the kid had seemed so recognizable. He was Ekman Rex's son. Sensing the younger dragon's fear, Kang reassured him. He wouldn't hurt him. After all, he'd stopped beating up dragons 30 years ago. But the dragon remained wary. To him, Kang didn't look like someone who had aged 3 decades. Curious, Kang asked the dragon how old he was. The answer came quickly, 50. In response, Kang casually revealed that he was 60, older, wiser, and stronger. The dragon clearly didn't buy it. No way a 60-year-old human could look that youthful. Then, in typical Kang fashion, he offered the furious dragon a drink. The invitation, however, felt like an insult. Sharing drinks with a mere human? That didn't sit well with the proud dragon, but eventually he gave in and got absolutely wasted. In his drunken state, the dragon boasted that Kang was the first human in existence privileged enough to share a drink with a dragon. Kang, unimpressed, simply shrugged. Then came a bold question. Kang asked who laid the egg, considering the redhead looked far too young for that kind of thing. "I'm male," he snapped. "Male dragons don't lay eggs." It turned out the egg wasn't his child. It was his younger sibling. A dimensional rift had torn open near their lair while their parents were away, and the two of them had fallen into this world. They had been stranded here ever since, for 6 months. Curious, the dragon asked about Kang's own journey. Back in his spawn, there had been rumors he vanished after defeating the Demon King. Where had he gone during all that missing time? Kang simply said he had something important to do, and once it was done, he returned to Earth. The dragon pressed further, asking why someone as powerful as Kang was running a tiny, low-traffic restaurant instead of saving the world. With his strength, he could have taken over the planet or crushed the monsters terrorizing humanity without breaking a sweat. Kang didn't argue. He acknowledged that humans could be exactly as the dragon described. Power-hungry, selfish, constantly at war. After 30 years of non-stop battles, he no longer craved power or glory. All he wanted now was a quiet life. The redhead didn't quite believe him. To him, Kang was just another unpredictable human. Before they parted ways, Kang told him to take good care of his one and only sibling. And judging by the way the dragon cradled the egg in his arm, it was clear he cared deeply. Not long after, the egg began to shake, and then it hatched. The newborn dragon, small and bright-eyed, broke free from her shell and stretched her wings for the very first time. Kang asked the proud brother if he'd named her yet. He hadn't. For now, he was simply calling her Hatchling. When asked about the hatchling's gender, the redhead confirmed. She was a girl. The little one already had tiny teeth and bore a slight resemblance to a millet, making Kang wonder if dragons were born omnivorous. The redhead clearly adored her. Holding her close in this unfamiliar world, his usual arrogance gave way to something more vulnerable. Sensing this, Kang asked casually if they had any place to stay on Earth. The dragon didn't answer. That silence said enough. They were homeless. Kang predicted what would come next. Sure enough, the dragon hesitated, then asked if Kang offered lodging services. Kang could relate. Though dragons were proud and mighty, even they could feel isolation and fear in a foreign world. To thank Kang, the redhead offered a grade 4 mage stone, a treasure of immense value even in this world. But Kang couldn't help laughing, not out of disrespect, but at the absurdity of such a formal gift after everything. Meanwhile, the baby dragon, still hungry, asked for more food. She was a bottomless pit in dragon form. Living with a baby dragon might end up being more troublesome than surviving in a monster-ridden world. He thought back to his time in Espan and the one he shared drinks with, a long-haired figure whose voice still echoed in his memories. Despite originally refusing to offer them lodging, Kang made a quiet decision. He would let the two dragons stay for a couple of days, free of charge. The redhead dragon was starting to feel the pressure. Kang Chol-ho had done way too many favors. Sensing this, Kang thought for a moment, then pointed to the ground. A glowing crack opened at his feet, a dimensional portal leading to his personal subspace. This wasn't just some storage vault, it was an entire dimension managed by Kasim, the immortal goblin. As soon as the portal opened, Kasim greeted him with reverence.
It's been a while, my king, he said, bowing low.
Now, for a low-ranking monster, this goblin was ridiculously dripped out. Bling, robes, attitude, you name it. Kang casually brought up the magic stone inventory. Without hesitation, Kasim revealed the numbers. An almost endless supply of stones in total. 5 of the highest quality stones ever, and about 120 high-ranking grade ones. Without blinking, Kang tossed the stone toward Kasim, who caught it and quietly added it to the collection. Meanwhile, the redhead dragon stood speechless nearby. To him, those top-tier stones were legendary. Yet here was Kang, treating them like pocket change. With that done, Kang turned back to the dragon and wasted no time handing him a list of chores. Time skipped to the next morning. The baby dragon was sleeping peacefully, completely out cold, despite explosions and chaos rumbling just outside. Kang, however, was anything but calm. He was thoroughly annoyed with her older brother. Kang's new goal was simple: train the dragon to control his fire breath. Not just spew it recklessly, but to concentrate it, precise and focused. He's got a skewer with a slab of meat. The dragon torches the meat to a beautiful color, perfecting what Kang was looking for. The dragon also pretty shocked by the kind of rapier, because even though it's used as a skewer here, it is unaffected by the breath of a dragon. This weapon, called the Recapel shaft, that could be considered one of the greatest weapons in the entire world. But hilariously, Kang's out here using his best inventory as kitchenware. The dragon is a bit annoyed that he is inaccurately using the weapons, but Kang taunts him that he's still utilizing his inventory, unlike dragons who just hoard. Meanwhile, Choi, the public servant, returned to the dinner, excited by the food and surprised that Kang had a new employee. He then shared news about a newly appeared Grade 5 dungeon. Top teams like Sanghoos and Cheon's were being deployed, confirming how serious the threat was. Kang reflected on how dungeons connected dimensions, just like how he and Khan arrived in this world. Out at the market, Kang overheard raid recruitment and spotted Sanghu, confirming Choi's info. He noted how this world now operated like a fantasy RPG, with too many DPS-type awakeners and not enough tanks or healers. It reminded him of Choi's sadness over how many people lacked the power or rank to join raids. Back at the diner, a broke man shyly asked for ramen. Kang, noticing his struggle, welcomed him and charged only $2. The man ordered 5 bowls, catching Kang's attention. Using Detect Eyes, he discovered the man's class: God of Food, a rare ability that grows stronger with high-quality meals. Though the man was unskilled, Kang generously served him an extra-large ramen with ataho meat for free, showing kindness to someone who clearly had it rough. Later, the man stumbled across a dimensional gate and tried to join the raid, but was rejected for being underqualified. That's when he saw his daughter, Mijin, serving as a healer. He scolded her for being there, but she lashed out, hurt by his absence and ashamed of his useless class. She stormed off after dropping a necktie gift box he had brought. As Kang cleaned his blade, he reflected on the class system: 5 official ranks, plus a 6th that he alone had reached. He noted that while some people are born with weak skills, growth depends on how they adapt. Suddenly, Khan rushed in with great news. His little sister had said her first word. The word Papa come out. The baby dragon had named herself Kuel, declaring herself a resident of this world. Kang's heart melted. She was already born with a mastered class. Now they just had to discover what it was. And as she clung to him, repeating Papa, it became clear. This wasn't just a diner anymore. It was a home. The troubled visitor returned. It was the same man from before. He quietly ordered ramen again while Kang Cheol-ho sat across from him, and Khan prepared the meal. The man shared his painful story how his daughter, Mijin, was working herself to exhaustion just to earn a scholarship. He wanted to help her, but couldn't. Mijin, on the other hand, was already a third-class healer. Top grades, impressive potential, a rising star in the association. He confessed that during his first visit to the diner, he actually planned to attend her school's observation date, but couldn't afford proper clothes. He just bought a necktie. It was pathetic, but it was all he could do. Now, breaking down in front of Kang, he admitted that even in misery, he was starving. Hearing this, Kang stood up with a serious look and creepily asked Khan if it was okay to fatten him up. Khan panicked, thinking he'd end up in a pot, but Kang laughed it off as a joke. Noticing Kyul recently shed skin, Kang decided to use it in the meal, despite Khan's protests he wanted it as a keepsake. The result? A mouth-watering Ataho extra-large ramen, similar to what the man had last time, only richer, deeper in flavor. Kang told him to eat as much as he wanted, and silently he watched as the man devoured every bite. After finishing, the man paid and thanked Kang not just for the food, but for being someone who listened when he needed it most. Before leaving, Kang shared a piece of advice, something worth remembering. Life's hard for everyone, but those who work hard every day eventually, they run into good fortune. He encouraged the man to try again tomorrow and promised he'd always be here like a reliable shoulder. Unbeknownst to the man, the meal had been infused with the dragon's shed skin, something that would significantly enhance his growth. Khan was puzzled. Why go so far for a stranger? Kang gently touched Kyul's soft cheek and replied, his father had once lived a life just like that. Maybe that's why. Later that night, Manhwa returned home and found Mijin asleep. To his surprise, she had brought the necktie home. When she awoke, she immediately apologized for what she had said to him earlier. Tearfully, she confessed her guilt for lashing out. Manhwa responded with quiet care, ashamed of how much he had failed her, but still full of love. The following morning, he rushed to a new job site. The recruiter recognized him immediately. Kim Manhwa, the man who had previously failed during the Yongdongpo dungeon incident. He was warned not to repeat his past mistakes, though this time the Zanaku team had his back. As the raid began, a surge of dark energy erupted from the dungeon gate. Even the seasoned spear mage Sang-hoo appeared uneasy. The reports had underestimated the situation. A hidden boss had spawned inside. Within the dungeon, designed like a dense forest, Manhwa was ambushed by a raptor-like monster. Surprisingly, he defeated it with a reflexive uppercut. He felt stronger, focused, no hunger or fatigue. Then the ground shook violently. A monstrous Tigrex emerged. The team panicked and scattered. Spotting mana crystals from the raptor, Manhwa dashed toward them and was launched across the field by the boss's headbutt. Flat on the ground, he recalled Mijin's face and voice. Those memories fueled him. He stood again, determined not to leave her alone in the world. He fought back, unleashing a powerful punch. In that moment, his class evolved to Shikshin, a tank DPS hybrid. When the boss charged again, Manhwa held its jaws open with both hands. Just then, Sang-hoo's team arrived, stunned to see a former nobody resisting a grade 2 boss alone. Sang-hoo was so impressed, he asked for Manhwa's business card. News quickly spread. Manhwa had evolved to grade 3, earned MVP, and was officially recognized. Back at the diner, Kyul had grown noticeably heavier and was still calling Kang Papa. He denied it, but her sweet gaze always disarmed him. The news reported a monocrystal thief targeting shops in Seodamun. Kang chuckled until Kyul brought him a cup of water. Touched, he nearly drank it, until Khan yelled at him to stop. Apparently, Kyul had read about wells in an illustrated book. The issue? She had filled the cup using toilet water, thinking it was the same thing. Kang's expression froze in horror. Later, Choi returned, delighted by Kang's new kakukoi dish. Manhwa entered too clean, confident, and accompanied by Sang-hoo. Choi was stunned, and Sang-hoo surprised to see a government agent at the diner. It turned out Manhwa, now known as the Shikshin warrior, had earned his new name through his actions. While Manhwa devoured his usual ramen, Sang-hoo was impressed and encouraged him to visit Mijin's school instead of lingering. He gave the man a day off. Once Manhwa left, Kang noted how peaceful things had become until he saw Sang-hoo asleep in his chair. Then came a flashback, Sang-hoo furious that Kang had provoked a divine creature. The beast responded with a malicious smile and ignited its ferocious flames.
Sang-hoo startled awake, looking around the diner. Aside from Kang Cheol-ho, who was calmly reading a newspaper, the place was empty. He casually asked Kang if there was any alcohol available. Kang replied that he only had soju on hand. Hearing that, Sang-hoo asked if he could prepare a side dish, something fitting for the rainy weather. Kang thought for a moment and suggested sashimi. He explained that ever since the monster invasions, The situation in the ocean had become as dire as it was on land. Fish had become scarce, and chefs now used sea monsters with similar textures and flavors as substitutes. For the dish, Kang used a creature known as German fish as the raw material. With practiced hands, he sliced the flesh with care, removing the bones and arranging the slices into a beautiful presentation that resembled a gourmet platter. Sang-hoo's eyes widened in amazement. He took one bite, and the taste of the ocean flooded his senses. The freshness and smooth texture melted away his fatigue almost instantly. It paired perfectly with the soju. Feeling recharged, Sang-hoo smiled and told Kang he had 2 days off. He explained that for the past 2 years, his days had been filled with nothing but fighting monsters. The constant battle through endless dimensional rifts had left him mentally drained. He showed Kang his personal weapon, a spear that could absorb mana. In his younger days, he had been proud of his power, until reality humbled him. He had learned the hard way that no matter how strong you are, there's always someone stronger. He mentioned that he had been stationed in Seodaemon for almost a decade. Hearing that, Kang also reminisced about his past, admitting that he, too, wasn't always as composed as he is now. Time and experience had humbled him as well. While Sang-hoo sipped his drink, Kang asked if he had any particularly memorable moments in his career of monster hunting. Sang-hoo paused, then asked if Kang knew about the gumiho, the legendary nine-tailed fox. As he spoke, the scene shifted to a flashback. Sang-hoo recalled a mission where a team had been dispatched because someone had disturbed a gumiho's slumber. These creatures, known for their high intelligence and mystical powers, were classified as beyond-grade beings. They were sacred, territorial, and peaceful, so long as humans left them alone. But someone had provoked the gumiho. The team believed a mysterious gentleman was responsible, though they never confirmed his identity. In retaliation, the gumiho went on a rampage, unleashing a wave of hellfire across the area. As the battle unfolded, Sang-hoo's team charged in. The gumiho retaliated with its tail fire, an ability that caused hallucinations in anyone who looked directly at it. One of Sang-hoo's teammates managed to block the attack and began casting a spell. Sang-hoo used the resulting energy path to leap forward and launch the final blow. The strike killed the gumiho, but as the battle ended, Sang-hoo heard something, a cub's cry. It turned out the gentleman had released eagles to hunt down the gumiho's newborn cub. The baby fox had been defenseless. In the end, the cub was eliminated as well, and the incident was officially concluded. Back in the present, Sang-hoo thanked Kang for the meal, stood up, paid the bill, and left. On his way home, memories of confronting the mysterious gentleman resurfaced, though the scene quickly shifted back to the present. Meanwhile, Kang reflected in silence. He recalled the gumiho from his time in the Asfen continent. They were seen as guardian spirits of the mountains, revered by the people. He had once slain 2 of them, and now he regretted it. The scene returned to Sang-hoo, who suddenly noticed 3 floating orbs of fire hovering in the air. They looked eerily similar to the gumiho's tail fire,
and the sight left him with an unsettling chill.
Small footsteps emerged from the forest. It was the sound of a fox cub. The 3 floating fireballs revealed themselves to belong to this little creature, the same fox cub that Sang-hoo had once chosen not to kill out of pity. The cub began to nibble on the food near Master Sang-hoo, and it was then clear that the culprit behind the recent mana crystal thefts was none other than this fox cub. Though Sang-hoo was visibly irritated, he gently picked the cub up and sternly warned him. This kind of behavior couldn't continue. In a firm voice, he ordered the cub to leave the city to avoid further trouble. When the cub refused to go, Sang-hoo reluctantly threatened him with a spear, forcing the poor creature to flee. Despite his harsh words, Sang-hoo looked deeply saddened. He hadn't truly wanted to send the cub away. As the fox cub wandered through the city, he spotted something amusing. Kuehl, performing some odd experiment and hilariously stuck to a window. Curious and unafraid, Kuehl opened the window and invited the cub inside, calling out to Kang. The little cub gently touched Kule's soft cheek, associating the sensation with kindness. When Kang entered and found the two playing, the cub quickly hid. Kang wasn't surprised. He had sensed the energy of a gumiho for a while, and now understood the source. Realizing that the fox cub was hungry, he opened his subspace portal. Inside, Kasim the goblin, who managed the vault, greeted him. At Kang's command, Kasim retrieved a high-grade mana crystal, one of the finest in storage. The fox cub devoured it eagerly, and as he did, the crystal's energy merged harmoniously with his body. Satisfied and full, the fox cub was escorted out by Kang, with Kule waving goodbye. That night, as the cub gazed at the city lights, he quietly muttered his thoughts. He knew Master Sanghu had a kind heart, even if they'd never meet again. Tears welled up in his eyes. Meanwhile, under the starlit sky, Sanghu whispered his final words. Live well, and don't come back. The next morning, the Korean Awakener Association was introduced. Among the Grade 2 Awakeners were 5 powerful figures: the Ice Witch Mage, Lancer Kim Sanghu, the Gentleman, the Blade Queen, and the Magician. These 5 were appointed as protectors, while 3 Grade 1 Awakeners were assigned to special missions. At the association headquarters, President Yu Jinsu joked about his hot drink, but Chaeyeon didn't laugh. She offered to chill it instead, which he declined. The president then asked if the monster plants known as mandragogas had truly vanished. Chaeyeon explained that 13 of them had disappeared without a trace. Since mandragogas release deadly poison and shriek when disturbed, it was strange to think they simply walked away. The president scoffed at the idea. Plants don't have legs, he said, and added that he would consult Gabby, also known as the Shadow Cat, who had just returned from her mission. Chaeyeon, unsurprised, continued her report. Back at Kang's home, Kule stretched and tried to wake Kang, who seemed caught in a nightmare. Mischievously, Kule left a red mark on his forehead and laughed. Feeling hungry, he stacked a chair to reach the refrigerator and discovered a radish-like vegetable, actually a mandragoga. The creature screamed but was immediately silenced when Kule stuffed it into his mouth, only to spit it out in disgust. When Kang finally woke, joined by Khan, he was surprised to find the fridge completely emptied. Khan couldn't believe that Kule had eaten everything. Kang then asked Khan where he had been. Khan explained that he'd been investigating interdimensional cracks and newly formed dungeons. But despite his efforts, he had only encountered monsters familiar from the Aspan continent. Concerned, Kang asked to be informed immediately if anything strange occurred. Khan then asked an unexpected question. Could Kang, now a 6th-class master, control dimensional rifts? Unfortunately, Kang admitted that even he didn't know who created them or how they worked. As for how he returned to Earth, he simply said it was a long story. Realizing it was time to shop for groceries, Kang prepared to head out. Elsewhere on the outskirts of Sincheon, Chaeyeon was still searching for clues about the missing mandragogas. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the area. She became alert, ready to cast a spell, when a soft hand brushed her cheek. Floating above was a beautiful woman dressed in a sleek black outfit styled like an assassin. The pretty woman turned out to be Lee Gabby, a level 1 awakener famously known as the Shadow Cat. When Chaeyeon greeted her shyly, Gabby responded with a laugh and told her to just call her sister. She asked how long Chaeyeon had been in the field and was surprised to hear it had already been 10 years. In her thoughts, Chaeyeon remained in awe of how Gabby had infiltrated her barrier unnoticed. According to Cipher School, it usually took nearly 30 years to become a top-level awakener, yet Gabby still looked remarkably young. Gabby extended her hand warmly to properly introduce herself and asked about the current situation. Chaeyeon reported that 13 mandragoga had vanished after the recent gate explosion and the area was currently sealed. When Gabby asked who broke through the barrier, Chaeyeon suspected someone above level 3 might be responsible. When asked about the nearest large mercenary group, Chaeyeon mentioned the temple mercenaries in Seodaemon. "Let's go there first," said Gabby.
And we'll grab something to eat on the way and regroup with that spear brat I always argue with.
The scene shifted to Khan cuddling with his little sister, showering her cheeks with affection. As he admired her cuteness, he suddenly noticed Kang watching. Embarrassed, Kang asked how much of it he saw. Kang reassured him there was nothing wrong with expressing sibling love. Khan coughed awkwardly to break the tension. Kang opened the fridge and showed Khan a juicy fruit. When asked, Kang explained it was a watermelon, something Khan had never seen before. Then Khan noticed a white lump inside and asked what it was. Kang replied it was a chicken. Irritated, Khan retorted that he obviously knew what a chicken was. Then Kang pulled out the fainted mandragoga from the fridge, alarming Khan, who asked where he had found it. Kang casually explained that he had plucked it from the ground during a walk. Internally, Kang recalled that mandragoga absorbed heat and helped cool the body, had a crisp texture, and a sweet taste. He began skillfully preparing the mandragoga. Khan, puzzled, asked why Kang was stuffing vegetables into the chicken. Kang simply said to wait and see. It would soon become samgyetang. At that moment, Sanghu, Chaeyeon, and Gabi arrived, drawn in by the delicious aroma. Kang nudged Khan to welcome the guests. When Sanghu asked if Khan was a new employee, Kang explained he was one of their cooks. Kang mentioned they were making samgyetang, but Gabi quickly noted that she couldn't eat it because she was vegetarian. When the meal was ready, it was served with kimchi. Chaeyeon took the first bite, and the explosion of flavors impressed her. The dish was refreshing and praised all around. Seeing this, Gabi admitted it looked tasty. Kang then offered her some watermelon. She lit up with excitement and accepted. He began explaining a new way to enjoy watermelon, cutting it into bite-sized pieces, placing them back into the rind, and adding sugar cubes and soda like Sprite to create a refreshing fruit punch. Chaeyeon used her ice magic to create cubes to chill the drink. Seeing this, Kang realized she was an awakener. Sanghu revealed her title, the Ice Witch. Chaeyeon blushed at the nickname, recalling how she had earned it during Cypher School's Battle Royale with her ultimate spell. Kang mused silently, noticing that many big names had started showing up at his restaurant. The pretty assassin lady, Lee Gabi in particular, very gorgeous. Her presence alone proved her power, and she was likely the most beautiful woman Kang had met since the Espan continent. After the meal, Gabi gave her thanks with a charming smile. Later, near the dishwashing area, Khan gushed about how pretty Gabi was, almost unreal. Kang agreed and revealed that she wasn't human. Using his detect eye skill, he had learned she was an elf. He mentioned her skill, Ghost God Dash, something only elves possessed. Khan remained skeptical, noting that elves usually had pointy ears. Kang began to suspect that not only monsters, but also other races had crossed over through the dimensional rifts and adapted to life on Earth. Suddenly, Kang startled Khan and asked him to help make something unique, a new watermelon juice. "Grab the spoon," he said. Outside the Awakener Association building, Sanghu rambled about how the Mandragoga disappearance didn't add up. Gabi looked irritated. Sanghu questioned who could casually pull out Mandragoga without being noticed. Chaeyeon suggested that if even the level 1 Awakener Shadow Cat couldn't find anything, then the answer might lie in an unexpected direction. Gabi agreed, sensing something suspicious. Though there was no evidence yet, she planned to report the matter to the higher-ups. Despite the temple mercenaries showing up, no intel was recovered, only surprising news. Chan Taejung of the temple was retiring. Under the starry night sky, a veteran general gazed upward. He reflected that the world had changed. Modern buildings replaced trees, asphalt covered former grasslands, and the land was no longer fragrant with flowers, but now a battlefield.
With might, he shouted to the mercenary members,
Case closed. Secure the survivors.
As Kang read the news about the temple organization successfully blocking a massive monster invasion, Kuel held onto his leg, cheerfully calling out "Papa," clearly wanting a hug. She then began reading some words from the newspaper, mispronouncing today Hashun. But Kang gently corrected her pronunciation and praised her with a "Good job, Kyul." As she continued reading and pointing at words, her stomach suddenly growled loudly. Imitating her stomach noise, she looked at Kang, indicating hunger. Thinking carefully about breakfast, Kang realized it was always a concern to prepare good food while they had the chance. Gazing affectionately at Kyul, he playfully pinched her cheeks, reflecting on how dragons had much longer lifespans. He then asked Kyul to wake her older brother, and she toddled happily toward the sleeping Khan, jumping and shouting excitedly right onto his face, startling him awake. Soon, breakfast was served, bibimbap topped with belto eggs. Kang instructed Khan to mix it, and as they ate, the flavors were exceptional. After eating, Kang expressed some concern about Kyul constantly falling asleep after meals. Khan reassured him, explaining that at 3 months old, it was normal for her to sleep and eat a lot while developing her class. Eagerly anticipating Kyul's future class, Khan gently lifted his sleeping sister and carried her to bed. At that moment, Manhwa, also known as Mr. Shiksen from Master Sunghu's team, arrived, complimenting the delicious smell of the rice. Requesting some rice along with his usual ramen, Manhwa eagerly dug in, praising the delightful combination. Soon after, Choi, the association agent, arrived, greeting Kang and Manhwa. He mentioned he was only stopping by for a hello and asked for water, noting his energy had recently improved. Choi discussed with Manhwa about Sanghu's current unease due to Chon Taejung's retirement from the temple mercenary group, causing widespread anxiety. When Kang asked why this news was significant, Manhwa explained that 10 years ago, during the Great Invasion at Seodaemun Gate, Chon Taejung had played a crucial role. Although he was officially a level 3 awakener, his true strength was significantly higher, and he had led the defense that saved countless lives. Elsewhere, Chairman Yu Jinsu was reading the same news when Taejung entered, greeting him warmly. The chairman, visibly shaken, questioned the abrupt retirement. Taejung calmly explained it was simply time to pass on the legacy and responsibilities to the next generation, emphasizing that no one could shoulder everything alone. The chosen successor was a promising level 3 awakener named Kang Hyuk, expected to soon become a level 2 awakener. As Taejung stared at the sky, Songhu approached, discussing the true meaning of hope. Back at the restaurant, Kang was chopping mandragoga when Songhu and Taejung arrived. Kang announced today's menu as traditional Korean home-style cooking. Surprised to see Taejung, he noted their similar ages and informed them the meal would take some time to prepare. Songhu, who suddenly stand up and said he was busy, left Taejung to eat alone. Taejung commented on Songhu's immaturity, yet rapid growth into a respected guardian. He asked permission to smoke, praising the nostalgic scent of the food. Kang skillfully prepared side dishes and a hearty soybean paste soup, reminiscent of countryside cooking, accompanied by fried eggs and grilled salted fish. Impressed by the gourmet presentation, Taejung tasted the soybean soup and admired its perfection, feeling a deep sense of nostalgia. This meal brought back vivid memories from 30 years ago when he first arrived in Seoul during the Great Evacuation era, a critical moment in his life. As Taejung shared these memories with Kang, he finished his meal, recalling that difficult past. Meanwhile, Sanghu raced through the streets on his motorcycle,
vividly remembering the final great invasion from 10 years ago.
As the conversation continued, Kang spoke with Taejung about the evacuation era, recalling vividly that it all began 30 years ago when monsters first appeared across the globe. Nations quickly fell under the relentless onslaught of these creatures, resulting in unimaginable devastation and loss of countless lives. At that crucial turning point, Taejung, living in his small hometown, decided to take up arms. With a sword in hand, he discovered and awakened his hidden powers. He immediately stepped into a leadership role, guiding and protecting fellow awakened individuals from his town to seek refuge in Seoul, the resilient capital city of Korea. This heroic journey ultimately led to the formation of the Temple Mercenary Corps. Under their steadfast guardianship, Seoul began to rebuild and recover, giving rise to the esteemed title of Guardian. While the official records identified the nation as Korea, in reality, only Seoul had successfully remained intact amidst the widespread chaos. Just when humanity was adapting to this harsh new normal, another cataclysmic event occurred a decade ago, known widely as the Final Great Invasion. Sang-hoo vividly recounted his desperate struggle against exceptionally powerful monsters during this catastrophic event. Fighting relentlessly, yet gradually becoming overwhelmed, Sang-hoo found himself cornered, on the verge of defeat. It was at this dire moment that unexpected help arrived. A figure swiftly blocked the monster's ferocious attack, despite the heavy bleeding from his wounded arm. This person reached out warmly to Sang-hoo, offering words of wisdom with a gentle yet determined smile. "If you cower, you'll spend your whole life stuck in retreat." This profound encounter forever solidified their bond. At that time, Kim Sang-hoo had just stepped into his role as a guardian. Taejung, witnessing Sang-hoo's courage and potential, commanded him to observe carefully as he showcased the true extent of his own power. With a gigantic monster bearing down on them, poised to crush everything beneath its colossal feet, Taejung unleashed an extraordinary, devastating counterattack, slicing the enormous creature cleanly in half. With unwavering conviction, he declared, "This is the path we carve out ourselves." In the present day, Sang-hoo visited a familiar hilltop, knowing this was Taejung's preferred place for rest and reflection. He arrived prepared to protect the area by eliminating any lurking threats, yet found the area completely peaceful, devoid of any monsters. This left Sang-hoo feeling helpless and overwhelmed by emotion. Tears streamed down his face, as he realized there was no immediate danger he could face to support or honor Taejung, leaving him feeling powerless. Back at Kang's restaurant, Taejung spoke thoughtfully, explaining he had lived without regrets, yet acknowledged the heavy burden of always needing perfection. Even a minor mistake could cost many lives. Listening carefully, Kang understood more deeply that what seemed like immaturity in Sang-hoo was actually a reflection of the heavy pressure learned from Taejung, aiming for flawless performance, a standard that was emotionally exhausting. Curious about Taejung's future, Kang asked if he planned to return to his hometown. Without hesitation, Taejung affirmed this decision. When it came time to pay, Kang gently informed him the meal was on the house, causing Taejung to remark on the restaurant's uncommon generosity. As Taejung rose to leave, Kang softly mentioned that Sang-hoo had grown into a truly fine guardian. Taejung, deeply moved, warmly agreed, acknowledging Sang-hoo as being like a son to him. At sunrise, Taejung dismounted from his motorcycle on the familiar hilltop, gazing thoughtfully at the rising sun as he quietly declared, "I'm back." Observing from a nearby hilltop, Sang-hoo silently bid farewell, tears flowing freely as he softly uttered, "Take care, old man." Meanwhile, the fox cub emerged cautiously, fondly recalling the gentle kindness of Kang and Kyul, convinced they posed no threat, and seeing Kang as a genuinely gentle soul. Suddenly, a voice echoed in Kang's mind, calling him by his old name, "Miro! Miro!" Recognizing it instantly, Kang responded, "Lantero, are you awake?" Memories surged, transporting him back to a fierce confrontation against the Demon Lord army on the Espan continent. In that intense memory, the Demon Lord accused Kang of summoning him into their dimension, a claim Kang dismissed firmly as nonsense. Clad in his golden gauntlet, Kang prepared himself, engaging the Demon Lord directly as powerful magic clashed in fierce confrontation. The sheer intensity of the memory jolted Kang awake, drenched in sweat. Spotting Khan nearby, visibly trembling, Kang asked urgently what was wrong. Terrified, Khan explained the palpable killing intent radiating from Kang had frightened him deeply. Immediately apologizing, Kang revealed that despite the decades since the war's conclusion, haunting nightmares still plagued him, possibly stirred by recent conversations about Seoul's great invasion. Reflecting deeply, he concluded that it likely wasn't mere coincidence that his battle with the Demon King aligned with Seoul's greatest crisis. Gazing contemplatively at the sunrise streaming through his window, Kang hoped fervently never to encounter the Demon King again, uncertain of what the future might bring, but determined to remain vigilant. This marked the latest chapter of the story. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you enjoyed this recap, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing your feedback. It means a lot.